If you win the next election, Pete, you're going to have to make cuts. You're going to have to make big cuts because there's a sea of red ink after this year. So what are you eyeing off?
Well, Pete, we're not going to give billions of dollars to billionaires during a housing emergency. The government's brought in 1.67 million people over the course of a 5-year period, or they will do, almost 1 million people over the course of just the last 2 years. House starts in our country are at an 11-year low. People know they can't get a builder or a tradie to come and renovate, or an electrician. It's tough out there, and the fact is that you can't find rental accommodation. People can't find a house for their children or grandchildren. It's a big problem, and the government has made decisions deliberately over the last 2 years, over the last 2 budgets, which have hurt families, not helped them. And this budget only contributes to that. So I think there are a lot of issues that we need to address as a nation. We need to keep our country secure, and we need to keep people safe. But we also need to make sure that we can address Labor's homegrown inflation problem. It's fuelled by giving billionaires additional billions of dollars. So that would be the first savings. But there'll be others that we can identify, because ultimately what I want to do is get inflation down and interest rates down. That would be the greatest assistance that you could provide to families. But unfortunately, in this budget, through high spending and high taxing, the government has put upward pressure on inflation and therefore upward pressure on interest rates.
I'm just curious here. Where would you make the cap rather on the energy savings?
Oh well, Pete. I mean, for example, Clive Palmer, he gets $1,000 from Stephen Miles, and he gets $300 from Anthony Albanese.
But if there's an income threshold, what would you be eyeing off?
Well, let's look at it in time. But at the moment, you've got this money will go out the door before the next budget. So it's sort of a moot discussion. I think at the moment, what we need to recognise is that all of these billions of dollars are going out, but nothing is made in Australia except inflation, homegrown inflation under Labor, and that's going to really hit families more disproportionately and more negatively than it will the billionaires, who are going to be the big winners out of this budget.
The Prime Minister squibbed this question this morning, but do you suspect there could be an election this year?
I think they're setting themselves up for an election this year. I think they're worried about the economy deteriorating. As we know, we're already in a per capita recession. We know that families are going backwards because their real wages just aren't keeping up with inflation. And there are a lot of families at the moment who are drowning in a sea of red. They've got difficulties for insurance, premiums that continue to go up. They've got higher grocery prices. Everything is just going up and up under this government. And the government's renewable-only policy means that the price for the farmer to run a cold room goes up. The price for the packaging for the products you're buying from a supermarket goes up. And all of that is passed on to the consumer. And that's what happens when you get a Labor government. They tax and spend, inflation's high, and interest rates are always higher under a Labor government.